Imagine descending 12,000 feet below the ocean's surface into a world where the sun has never shined. A place so dark, so cold, and so high pressure that for decades scientists thought very little life could survive. And then they found it. Patterns pressed into ancient rock that look almost like fingerprints. But fingerprints shouldn't exist here, not in this darkness, not in this place. Yet, there they were, silent, frozen in stone, millions of years old. These wrinkle structures were once thought to be like tiny solar panels, made only by bacteria that need sunlight. But the reality is far stranger. Our story takes us back to the early Jurassic, 180 million years ago, in the deep sea abyss. These aren't just old rocks. They are a cold case sitting in the Atlas Mountains, waiting for us to realize that the rules of biology we learned in school are not absolute. Hiking through the Dedes Valley today, you wouldn't expect to find a prehistoric seabed. But look closer at these slabs. These aren't just ripples left by water. They are microbial mats, a living, breathing ooze that survived in a place where almost nothing else could. Think of it as a biological shield. While the rest of the ocean floor was being churned up by worms and crabs, these wrinkles stayed perfectly intact. To understand why this shocked scientists, we need to go even deeper, about 2.5 miles beneath the ocean's surface, in what researchers call the dark zone. Here, there's no sunlight, no photosynthesis, no plants. The pressure is crushing. Temperatures hover near freezing. For decades, scientists believed very little complex life could survive, which is why these strange patterns, these wrinkle structures, made no sense at all. The strange rocks containing these patterns were discovered in the mountains of Morocco. Today, this landscape stretches as dry deserts with jagged peaks and vast valleys. But if you could travel back in time, millions of years ago, this region was nothing like it is today. It was the floor of a deep dark ocean teeming with life that thrived in complete absence of sunlight. Over countless millennia, tectonic forces slowly pushed these ancient seabeds upwards, lifting them thousands of meters above sea level. What was once hidden in the abyss of the ocean was exposed to the sky, and preserved inside these rocks were patterns so intricate, so perfectly formed, that scientists initially struggled to explain them. These ripple-like textures, these tiny ridges, they were left behind by microbial life long ago, yet frozen in stone as if time itself had stopped. Scientists call these formations wrinkle structures. They are not just random textures or natural erosion. They are the fingerprints of ancient microbial life, etched into the rock, a biological signature that has survived 180 million years. And now, resting high in the Atlas Mountains, these rocks are more than just stones. They are a cold case, waiting for us to piece together the story of life that once thrived in darkness, and to challenge everything we thought we knew about the rules of biology. At first, scientists were puzzled. These wrinkle structures usually form when microbial mats spread across shallow sea floors. But those organisms rely on sunlight to survive. So how could similar patterns appear 2.5 miles beneath the ocean in total darkness? The answer came from an unexpected source: bacteria. Not ordinary bacteria, but ones that thrive in extreme conditions, feeding on chemicals instead of sunlight. In this dark abyss, sulfur and other chemicals seep from the ocean floor. These microbes use that chemical energy to survive in a process called chemosynthesis. It's life without light. Life in a world that should be uninhabitable. Over millions of years, entire communities of these microorganisms spread across the sea floor, slowly creating the ripple-like patterns preserved in the rocks we see today. These microbial mats are likely tiny engineers of the deep ocean. They form a protective layer, a biological shield, resisting predators, sediment shifts, and the crushing pressures of the deep sea. What we see now as wrinkle structures are essentially fingerprints of these hidden microbial world. Patterns left behind by life that has adapted in ways we are only beginning to understand. As we study them, these tiny organisms reveal secrets about survival in extremes, teaching us that life, even in the darkest, most hostile places, finds a way. These ancient fingerprints don't just reveal the past, they are blueprints for the future. In late 2025, we finally cracked the code of dark oxygen. We discovered that deep sea rocks aren't just stones. They act like natural batteries, splitting water into oxygen in total darkness. These 180 million year old microbes weren't waiting for the sun. They were plugged directly into the earth itself. But the real magic is in their defense. By studying their toxic shield, engineers are now copying these prehistoric textures to create the next generation of self-cleaning technology. We are building ship hulls and surgical tools that repel bacteria naturally, without a single drop of harsh chemicals. Nature solved our dirty technology problems 180 million years ago. We are just finally listening. From autonomous deep sea research stations to spacecraft designed for the harshest voids of the solar system, we are no longer building against nature, we are building with it. Every wrinkle in these Moroccan rocks is a masterclass in engineering. They prove that survival isn't about the biggest or the strongest. It's about the ingenuity to adapt when the world goes dark. But the most profound implication of the Morocco fingerprints lies far beyond our own atmosphere. For decades, we believed sunlight was the absolute requirement for life, the ultimate theta. The deep abyss has officially broken that rule. If these microbial ecosystems can thrive in the crushing, sunless pressure of Earth's seabed, they provide a proven blueprint for the rest of the solar system. Scientists now look toward Jupiter's moon, Europa, which hides a massive saltwater ocean beneath miles of frozen crust. If chemical energy or dark oxygen exists there, life doesn't just become a possibility, it becomes a probability. NASA's Europa Clipper is racing there right now to hunt for these exact biosignatures. We're no longer asking if life is out there. We are asking if we are brave enough to recognize its fingerprints when we finally see them. These tiny ridges in Moroccan rock aren't just fossils. They are a map to how life survives across the universe. Sometimes, the smallest discoveries tell the biggest stories. These tiny patterns in ancient rock, left behind by microscopic organisms in total darkness, remind us that life is far more adaptable than we ever imagined. The Morocco wrinkles prove that even in the most hostile corners of our planet, life doesn't just endure, it leaves a mark. We often think of engineering as a human invention, but these 180 million year old fingerprints suggest we are simply late to the party. Nature is the ultimate engineer, and its blueprints are written in stone, waiting for us to catch up. Every wrinkle and every microbial mat is a lesson in survival, resilience, and ingenuity, showing us that thriving isn't about size or strength, but the brilliance to adapt when the sun goes down and the pressure builds. If we can find life and hope 2.4 miles down in the abyss, it forces us to ask, where else is it waiting? If we listen closely, these ancient masters of adaptation can teach us how to thrive in a world that is always changing. This has been Bio-Fauna Reports. If you are ready to see what we find in the deep next week, hit subscribe and join the investigation. The abyss is finally starting to tell its story. Bye.